Welcome to the Livfiit Listens podcast, a safe space of growth, personal development, and overall wellness with your host, Olivia Catania. Diving into the realms of all things health, conscious living, mental expansion, and much more, this podcast is designed to help you evolve into your best self and live fit. Let's get into the show. Hello, how you guys doing? Welcome back to the Livfiit Listens podcast. Today we are on episode 48. How are all y'all doing? I hate that I have to rhetorically ask that question, but just know that it wouldn't be rhetorical if we were in real life. Believe it or not, I woke up this morning to a winter wonderland. We have snow on top of snow on top of snow here in Utah, and it really just happened like a flip of a switch. Literally 2 days ago, it was 60 and sunny. Bunch of beautiful fall leaves, and now there's just a bunch of snow on top of the beautiful fall leaves. And usually I'm the person, I'm not that person to start listening to Christmas music early, and I'm gonna be fully honest, I was wholeheartedly dancing around today in my house to Christmas music this morning. And it felt good. It felt right, and I didn't feel an ounce of shame. And just, I'm usually not that person, but I was today. I don't know what it is. I think also it's funny because I've been so pessimistic about the snow, or I keep talking shit, since I was, it's been a while since I've been in snow and stuff. So I'm like, there's no way, I have to leave, once it starts to snow. And now all of a sudden I'm like, where have you been? What's up, bro? It's an old friend. You can't help it when you grew up with snow. It always satisfies a certain part of your inner child. It just felt super cozy just this morning. And also, I'm vlogging today, so I already showed this in the vlog, but I hope you guys like what I've done with the place and what I've done with the place, as in this new candle. This is me trying to decorate the space. As much as I love you guys, I didn't get this to decorate the podcast table. I got this just to have in my room, but I got this lovely new candle from TJ Maxx called Forest Trail, and it literally smells like a bunch of Christmas trees are in my room, just like a bunch of pine trees, and it's the coziest thing ever. And I think this is what subconsciously geared me to be pro winter season right now. I'm gonna be honest, because I lit it last night, I think while I was sleeping, the aroma was still in the air. And that's why this morning I was like, Christmas? Sure, let's freaking go for it. I'm ready for winter. So anyways, with that being said, for my gratitude for today, like I said, how I just bought this candle yesterday, I had a little shopping excursion. It was minor. It was a small thing. But usually I'm someone who doesn't like shopping. And then every few months, honestly, once every 3 months, I'll have this urge to go spend money. And that was yesterday for me. So I just feel thankful that I was able to do that there's stores next to me. Because even back home where I'm from in New York, there's I have to drive 20 minutes, 30 minutes to get to shopping stores. So I like that I'm close to places like that here, and just that I have my own money to be able to purchase things when I feel like it. So that's my gratitude for today. A little bit more materialistic, but that's the honest gratitude for today. So for this episode, I wanted to speak about timelines, and just kind of wanted to hone in and drive in the point that no matter what, you are on time, no matter if you feel like that way or not. And so many of us feel especially with our generation and with social media, the age of social media and technology and the internet and just everything, and also just with the difference between our previous generations of our parents and grandparents to compare to how we operate now as a society, we constantly feel like we are behind, whether people, you feel like you should have accomplished things by now. You feel like you should have met certain people by now. You feel like you should have been able to buy certain things by now. You feel like you should have been able to experience things by a certain age. We always have these kind of social constructed timelines in our minds. And I also feel like this is a perfect play off of my previous episode of loneliness, kind of feeling just piggybacking off that, you feel like you should have a group of friends by now. You feel like you should have a partner by now, or maybe you feel like you should be engaged, or you feel like you should have kids, or you feel like you should have bought a house by now. All those stuff I've been saying. And I'm just here with this episode to tell you that is bullshit. And I know it's easier said than done. And even as I've gotten older, I've started to experience that, subconscious unspoken pressure that's in our society of I am kind of getting older. And I saw something on TikTok a while ago that was if I wanted to have kids by 32, I needed to be married by 30, which means I needed to be engaged by 28, which means I needed to meet someone yesterday, something like that. And it was so freaking funny. And I felt the exact same way. And I just feel I'm kind of getting to that age where if I feel if I want to get married by the normal societal standard, it's I should be with someone by now. So I just have been starting to feel that pressure of kind of just the socially constructed timelines. And I just have been starting to work through it as well. And so I hope that I can kind of bring you some peace of mind and what I kind of think of to help me work through this pressure that we feel in society. This is specifically why I guess this is a reason why I love spirituality, because so much of its foundational teachings is all about surrendering and just overall trusting your path and trusting your timeline. And I want to do a quick story time because I also love when I have my like mindful mornings, if I meditate or do cards, and it's like so fitting to what I was going to speak about on the podcast. Like that was today. I had such a strong message that was so reinforced across 3 different card decks that were all about trusting and surrendering. And during my meditation, I focused on doing that energetically, of like just releasing, of surrendering, of letting go. Like I visualized in my meditation because I realized there's been things in my life that I've been trying to force and have and control it and have it fit a certain timeline, and I want it to happen now, all this stuff. And I kind of had this visual when I was meditating of me trying to carry all this stuff. And like I have a huge heavy backpack on my back, and the universe was like, Liv, just take it all, like just let it go. Drop it. Like we can carry it for you. We want to carry it for you. We will carry it for you. And I felt when I like visualized myself like letting everything go, like not trying to carry everything, letting go of my backpack, I like felt so much release, like energetically, like a weight lifted off my shoulders, and I literally could feel myself surrendering and like letting go and just trusting the universe. And then when I went to my oracle cards and my affirmation cards, they completely mirrored that same message, which I love when that happens, and it just totally echoes the fact that like the uni is with me. And one of the affirmation cards that came out it said something along the lines of, I trust my path and that everything is happening in my favor. And then in another card deck, it said trust, and the card behind it said your path. And so I just feel like that is the overall, like, that's just the message today that I feel like I just felt called to share with you guys as well, because it really is so fitting. And the thing is like the reason why it's so important to just surrender and trust that what is meant for you will find you when it is meant to find you is because we constantly, it's like, I also had this was like such a big download this morning too when I was meditating. Like we constantly think, because we grew up in a society that's like, you know, you need to take action in order for XYZ to happen or whatever, that we feel like when we control something, when we try to force it, and when we try to, you know, act out of a sense of fear, and like we just try to force something to happen, that in and of itself, and we're acting from like attachment, so that's a good word to use here. It's like when you're acting from that space, which is all collectively just a space of fear at the very end of the day. Because I also thought of this as well this morning. I was like, if you actually trusted that what was going to happen was that what was meant to happen will happen, you would be able to completely detach, because there's no reason for you to detach, because you know it's coming your way. You know it. But the reason that we have all these codependent attachments, or we're so attached to certain outcomes that we feel the need to control it or force things, it's solely wholeheartedly due to the fact that you aren't trusting that it is meant for you, that it will happen to you. You are acting from a place of fear, because you don't believe, you don't trust that it is going to happen. Therefore, you are fearful that it's not going to happen, so you're trying to force certain situations. Whereas opposed to if you're acting from a place of love, of unconditional love, of trusting, of surrendering, of letting go, you won't have a need to try to control the situation. You won't have a need to try to force the situation. You won't feel the need to be attached to the situation, because you already know in your heart of hearts, at your deepest, corest intuition, you already know what is coming to you regardless. So there is nothing left for you to do other than to allow yourself to receive it. And by us acting from control and forcing and attachment, all that is doing is pushing it away. The current wants it to come towards you if you just stop moving in the water, but you thrashing and trying to force it and grab the toy, or sorry, I'm having a weird visual, like you trying to grab something that's in the pool, all that's doing is creating more ripples and waves and pushing that toy or whatever you're trying to get that's in that body of water. It's pushing it away from you because it's getting carried away by those ripples. Whereas if you just sit still and you just surrender in the water. This is such a random thing that's just coming to me in real time. This was not written on the outline. But whereas if you just surrender, come back to yourself, ground, trust, let go, and you just sit still and let what's meant for you come to you, those ripples that were pushing everything away before from you trying so damn hard, they're finally going to disperse, and the natural current that is in that body of water is going to allow whatever that you are wanting to come towards you. And that's what I mean when I say, I actually love this example. I love that this just came to me, because that current is, I do believe we all have free will, right? And we all have the option to change things in our life, but I do believe that fate is a real thing. I do feel that there are certain things that are meant for each one of us that will not miss us, right? And that is what that current represents, that you are finally able to call in what truly is meant for you when you just surrender to that current. And what I was going to get into later in the episode, but it's coming to me now, it's like, what happens, what's very ironic when you try to control or abide by certain timelines that we have within our society, all that does, like when you're acting from a place of being desperate, all that does is push, and it delays your timeline even more, first of all, and second of all, it just pushes what is actually meant for you further away. Due to that exact example, which perfectly like depicts that scene. It's like when you're trying so hard because you feel like you're supposed to be married by 28. So you get into this relationship that you don't really truly like, but you feel like your time is limited. So you just kind of make a decision that you think like, and this person will kind of do. All that is doing is blocking what's actually meant for you even further, because now you have another, you know what I mean? You have another block in your path because it's not actually what's meant for you, but you're just choosing it. So that's the irony of it all. It's like we think that us trying to force things and rush things make us be like, okay, well, at least we're on time. All that is doing is prolonging your true, honest timeline of coming into all that's meant for you if you were to just surrender. And what's even harsher, the harsher truth is like usually that decision that you made from a place of fear, of lack, of, you know, a scarcity mindset or feeling like you need to abide by a certain timeline. The harsh truth is usually that decision that you make in that moment is going to come back around for you and you're going to fulfill that karma. What do I mean by that? The people who create relationships that aren't really healthy relationships, more often than not, they end up ending at one point or another. If you rush into buying a certain house because you feel like you should have done it by now, but you didn't have the money, you will most likely experience some sort of, you know, financial struggles on the back end of that. Things like that. That's what I mean when it just continues to prolong your timeline and delays what's meant for you. You end up paying it anyways on the back end and having to re-go through that lesson for an opportunity for a redo for you to be able to do it right the next time. Or maybe, you know, that doesn't crumble for you in your 3D, but just you are internally never satisfied throughout your life because you never actually fulfilled or satiated that true desire within you, your honest desire, because you gave it something that was inauthentic just to abide by some sort of timeline, which never is able to leave you feeling actually truly fulfilled. It might leave your ego fulfilled, right? But it's never going to leave your true authentic self fulfilled, which is always going to cause energetic misalignment. And I feel like this just switched to a very depressive tone, but I'm just saying all this as like the honest, like this is just honestly what usually happens. I'm not saying this is everyone's situation, but this is usually what happens when we get so caught up in these timelines. And so just kind of remembering these components of being like, just do it correctly the first time. Understand your chance is coming. Understand your turn is coming in divine timing. And I'm a huge advocate for aligned action, right? Especially in the world of manifestation. I went through that phase, that period where I was like, okay, if I just say I have a lot of friends, I'll have a lot of friends. If I just say I have X amount of money in the bank, I'll have X amount of money in the bank. If I say that I'm able to move here, I'll be able to move here. And, you know, again, as much as I'm huge into still like affirming your reality, speaking your truth, speaking things into existence, that's still not enough. You still need to couple that with aligned action, right? That's another piece of the puzzle of manifestation. You need to now align your actions with those words that you are saying. So if you're saying that you're someone who has a lot of friends, you can't just say that and then stay in your room and expect that the uni is going to bring 5 girls to knock on your door downstairs. No, you need to say, okay, I'm someone I have a lot of friends. And then you also need to align with that and go to the gym, go to coffee shops, go out at night, go join a league, go join a club, go do an art class, things like that where you're putting in yourself in places to meet other people. Same thing if you say you're going to meet your soulmate, the love of your life. You can't just say that and then not do anything. So yes, aligned action is still super important for your desires to come into fruition. However, furthermore, I'm also an even bigger advocate and a bigger believer in divine timing. What is divine timing? I use that word so often. Divine timing is just simply I guess I've never tried to just like define it, but divine timing is everyone's own timeline. Divine timing is knowing that what is meant for you will come into your 3D reality when the time is correct. So the reason why divine timing brings me so much peace is because we think that we can say these things, right? You can manifest all you want, you can script, you can journal, you can say your affirmations in the mirror, you can take your aligned action, but there's still like so many, you can't argue this. So many of us will feel like they're doing all the things, but what they're desiring still hasn't come into fruition yet. And for me, what I believe to bridge that gap is the reason why it's not here yet is because it just isn't time yet. Like it just has to come in divine timing. And this just is the reason why I'm saying this just applies to that everyone has their own timeline. You might feel like you're doing all the work to meet your soulmate, to have a friend group, to be able to get a promotion in your job, or to be able to buy the house, but maybe you keep looking at the house market and your dream house is just, you haven't come across it yet. That's just as the concept of divine timing. The time just isn't now. And I think that's what may bring a lot of you guys peace. It brings me a lot of peace when you feel like you're behind. You're never behind. You're always on time. You are always on your path with whatever is meant for you right now. And maybe you still have a lot of things to learn to be able to have that thing come into fruition, or maybe you have done the work, but it's just you still are just now practicing that patient phase of patience for that thing to actually be able to come into divine timing. And, I think sometimes some people feel like they're doing something wrong if they don't have their what they're desiring to come into fruition yet. But again, it's not always like, sometimes, yes, it's still healing and lessons that you need to learn and things that you still need to prep for it to be ready. But sometimes it's just also on the side note, like it's just divine timing. And I think just to broaden everyone's perspective a little bit, this might go over some people's heads, but it makes sense to me. Like sometimes I think like you need to understand everything in the world right now, in the universe, is happening in synergy. All energy is flowing in a synergistic way. Kind of back to that yin yang example, which I also wanted to get into further in the episode. But like everything is happening. Everything is always interconnected. Even if it's very distantly, it's still due to some sort of ripple effect. So what I mean by that is like you might feel like you're really ready to meet your partner, right? You might feel like I'm so ready to meet my husband, like what's going on? I'm so ready to get this promotion, what's going on? That is a pretty egoic, self-centered view because you need to understand there's more players in this game. There's more pieces to this puzzle. And that's like the uni might be like, great, I'm really happy for you that you feel ready, but your dream partner still has healing to do. He or she's not ready. Or maybe, I know you really want this house and your dream house is there, but the current owners of this house just aren't ready to sell it yet because they're waiting for something else to happen. Like everything is a chain reaction that we need to remember. And I'm honestly happy, again, this just came to my head as well, because that's also, I feel like, is another aspect and component to this whole divine timing concept. Like you might want it to happen, but everything else in the equation isn't aligned yet. And I think that's also what, stands for the beautiful miracles that we experience in our day-to-day, because so much of what we experience every day, we overlook the fact that so many stars needed to align perfectly for this exact situation, scenario, interaction, opportunity to be able to actually play out in the 3D reality. Like little things like even you running into a specific person at the grocery store, there was, things had to align perfectly for you to be in that same freaking geological point at the exact same time. And I'm kind of getting off topic, but I just mean like, don't feel, there's just more to it, I guess. It's not always as simple as like, I said I was going to get married at 28 and I'm not even dating anyone yet. It's like, there's just more to the equation. It's not only you in the universe. And you need to understand everything, your angels, the uni, your guides, whatever you even believe in. Maybe if you just believe, you don't believe in anything like that, just everything happens for a reason. But everything is slowly conspiring to align to have those interactions, experiences, exchanges as they are meant to happen, but it just takes some time for all those pieces to get into their perfect alignment for you to start. You know what I mean? And that's that whole concept of divine timing. And something actually, I've been getting into this, the manifestation babe, she's pretty very, very well known, and she's been at what she's doing for a few years now, but I just recently found her. And I've been listening to some of her older podcasts, and I resonate with them, those older ones more. And she had all about an episode about like why your manifestations haven't come into fruition yet, even if you feel like you've done all the things, you've done the work, etc., etc. And also, I say that lightly because I think we're all constantly students, we're all constantly healing, right? No one's ever just like, I'm done. Why isn't it happening? But for lack of a better term, you have been doing your best to stay on your path of highest alignment, stay in alignment with your higher self. You're trying to heal, you're trying to learn the lessons, you're trying to take the higher road. And she said something that her mentor at the time told her. I feel like her mentor. She said that you need to trust. Her mentor said to her that you need to trust that the universe gives you your manifestations when you are ready to carry that responsibility, which I found super, super interesting. And it was like honestly very humbling, and it was exactly what I needed to hear. And even a card this morning that I drew, which remember I said how there was like trust, a card that said trust and a card that said your path. The card that said your trust said something similarly to along the same lines. It was like, trust that I can give you what you're needing, that you'll be able to take care of it. Something of that sort. It's essentially saying trust that, you'll get what you're wanting to have once you are finally in that frequency of being able to have, like, keep up that responsibility for that new manifestation that came in. And I think this is also really comforting to hear and kind of humbling at the same time, because it's like same thing, like knowing that you are going to come into alignment with people, your manifestations, opportunities, blessings, when you are actually truly ready for it in divine timing. And so again, my main thing here is like, we always think that we know what the best timeline is. Like, we think that now is the best time to have something. But we need to understand, like, there's just a greater plan for all of this. And I feel like this is sounding pretty religious, but I can't help but have my, like, spiritual side, I guess, come out. But it's just true. Like, you need to understand that you think you know what's best. But, like, how many times, think about in your past, you feel like you wanted something to come into fruition so badly. And now you're looking back and you're like, thank the freaking uni that never worked out the way that I wanted to, or it didn't happen then. Like, there's things, for example, me, okay? This whole Livfiit thing, right? I wanted this to be something I could do full time for years. 17, 18, 19 years old. I was like, why isn't this happening? Like, why don't I have a platform? Why aren't I connecting with people? Looking back now, I was so not ready to be in a position to guide however many thousands of people are following me. Like, are you like, oh, that's the first time I've said that out loud, and it's so true. That makes me want to, like, my teeth itch. Like, there's no way. And same thing, like, there's, people in the past in my relationships that I really wish I wanted it to work out with them. Now I'm like, Olivia, come on now. Don't be crazy. Like, you really thought you were going to get married to that man? Like, we always think that we know what's best in the moment, but there's still so much left to be revealed to us, that there is a higher plan. And again, please, like, I'm trying not to make this, carry such a spiritual, faithful, religious message, but I'm just saying in general, like, there's just so much more life to live and experience, so much that has yet to be uncovered to us, that we think we know the right answer, but we only know what we know right now, and there's so much more left to be revealed that can be, better and better suited for us. And we just need to trust that. And looking back on previous experiences, like I said, where you're like, oh shit, thank the Lord that didn't work out, that is just proof that there's still better things coming, and that we don't know the best timeline, even though we feel like we do. Something else I want you guys all to reflect on, like, I want you to think about why you want to achieve the things that you want so early. And this is something I think about often that, like, really helps to calm me down. Why do you want to achieve those things so early? Why do you feel like you need to have them now? Or why do you want to have them right now in this present? And I understand the present moment is all that exists, right? Which means that at some point we will have them now, right? Because now is all we have. But when you think about why you want to have something right now, so fast, so instantaneously, so early on in life, it's mostly due to your egoic mind. Not always, not trying to accuse people, not trying to put words in your mouth, but it almost always is due to your egoic mind, and finally able to feel like you have the validation of being able to receive that said person, friendship, promotion, house, accomplishment, vacation. You're finally able to get some sort of validation to your egoic mind of like, oh, I finally accomplished that. I'm worthy. I'm enough. That means I'm worth more because I had and received X, right? Or maybe it's because you feel like you have beat, like, for lack of a better term, you've beat your peers as if it's a competition, right? You feel like, oh, hallelujah, at least I didn't come in last place, right? All of those are usually like, If you resonate with any one of those reasons that I just listed, the reason why you want something so early on is simply for the satisfaction of your egoic mind, and due to the concept that you haven't found, you're looking for external validation to give you some sort of inner fulfillment, inner validation, inner peace of mind. When, what do I say every single episode? Nothing external can fulfill anything internal. And a lesson in and of itself with that is like, you need to be able to validate yourself now. You are worthy, deserving, you are enough, right? You are valuable now without any sort of external relationships, accomplishments, experiences, opportunities. It is a birthright to feel worthy. It is a birthright to feel valuable. It is a birthright to feel enough. And that's something, side note, that should always be the goal, to make sure that you are cultivating that regardless of what your external reality is showing you. And the beautiful kicker and paradox of it all is when you can truly cultivate those emotions from within, just simply by being who you are and understanding it's just a birthright. Once you are able to feel those emotions naturally, regardless of what's happening in your 3D, you will inevitably, unironically, be able to experience more experiences that give you those feelings in your 3D, because you are already energetically aligned to those emotions, and your courses of action and confidence will reflect the way that you are feeling, right? Because your thoughts create your emotions, and your emotions are what usually lead you to taking action. So when your actions are in alignment with those great feelings of worthiness, confidence, enough, deservingness, your reality is going to allow you to experience more of that, and you're going to be able to live an even more abundant life, which is the beautiful paradox of that. But something I've realized from me, asking myself, why do I want all my manifestations right freaking now? Why? I realized that I was like, well, then what? Like, what happens what happens if all of your manifestations came true today? Then what? Like, sometimes it helps me to realize that this life, this human experience is simply, it is a game, or think of it as a good movie. It's like, what would be the point of the movie if everything happened all at once 10 minutes into the movie? It's like, well, shit, the movie's over. Like, cut, that's it. Cut, print the tape. Like, what, you know what I mean? Like, that's it. Like, the movie's over. So it's like, I realized that I was like, why am I rushing life? Why am I trying to rush life? Why am I trying to rush all of these beautiful experiences that I have yet to even experience yet? Like, something that baffles me is like, all of us have yet to meet some of the most important, beautiful people in our life yet. Some of us have yet to experience some of the most fulfilling moments of our life. Some of us have yet to experience some of the most beautiful views and scenes we've ever experienced. That is something that is so beautifully fascinating to me. It's like, why would I want to rush that? Like, there is something so beautiful about the fact that, like, there's some amazing people in my life that I haven't even had that first initial feeling of meeting them for the first time ever. If you're someone who's super sad about not meeting your partner yet, or your life partner, husband, wife, whatever, you have yet to think about how magical it is going to be the first time you have met that person. There's only one time that you can meet someone for the first time. There's only one time that you can experience someone or something's energy. There's only one time you can experience a specific moment for the first time ever. There's only one time you can experience it for the first time. Savor that. Why do we feel the need to be rushing these things? Savor that. That's so precious. It's like, why do you want that all to happen at once? Because also you won't be able to fully cherish each moment in its entirety if you have all these special moments all at once, all at the same time. It's kind of like, if you're going to eat all these fun desserts. At least for me, I don't want to have all the desserts all at once, or all the good food all at once. I want to savor it. I want to have some in the morning, some in the afternoon, some at night. Same thing. Like, I'm just using that as a metaphor. It's like, don't you want to be able to cherish and savor all of these really priceless moments that we have yet to experience by allowing them to happen periodically throughout our life, which inevitably means that we're going to have to be patient for things that are happening later in life. But like, that just makes sense to me. That just seems worth it to me. Like, I don't want it all to happen now. It's like, what would I theoretically have to look forward to? And it's like, yes, you're able to, then you're able to live with these blessings over the long haul. But still, like, I've just been choosing to focus on the beauty of still having the opportunity and the excitement and the untapped potential yet of being able to meet these people or experience these things for the very first time ever in my life. Like, that I think is amazing. And just realizing, like, why would I rush life? Because I realize when you're rushing life, if you want to speed up life, if you want everything to happen right freaking now, all that's doing is you're rushing to death. And think about like why. And I know that sounds morbid, but it's really true. And it was the wake up call I needed. I was like, why am I constantly trying so hard to rush through life now, to have all my manifestations happen as quickly as possible? All I'm doing is rushing through the movie. That's you hitting fast forward on the movie. And then what when it hits to the end, you know? Another point I wanted to get across, the fact that social constructs and social constructed timelines are all simply just illusions. It's all just illusions. And I know that people like want to roll their eyes, but it's true. They really don't matter. Like at the end of the day, it's just something we all collectively agreed upon as a society, but they are not truth. Like I've spoken about this before. If you want to hear more about this, read the 4 Agreements. It talks about, this was like the core foundational principle within the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Amazing book. It's my Bible. That essentially opened up my eyes to that, like, so much that we believe to be just truth in the way of life as society is actually not truth. It's just something that we all agreed upon to abide by, but it's not the actual truth, the only answer to the way of life. It's just what we agreed upon. So it's just an illusion, and we get so attached and so invested into these timelines, but for what? Like I said, they're all just illusions anyways, but yet we allow them to control us so much because we feel this sense, we want and crave this sense of belonging and feeling like that we have the sense of achievement, and we want the people around us to be proud of us. But all they do of getting attached and so invested into these timelines, they really do nothing but add stress and worry into our lives, or they make us subconsciously rush so that we feel like we're on time. But my mom always says haste makes waste. And back to kind of those examples that I was saying, it makes you rush into a relationship that you're not really happy in. It makes you rush into buying a house that you're not ready for. It makes you rush into a job position that you really couldn't care less about, but you feel like it's going to give you that job title that you should have by now. It's like all these things that they really do nothing but just truly negatively impact our current present day and just prolong us actually coming into a union and alignment with what's meant for us, because now we're wasting time by engaging in these blocks. And again, I know this is sounding harsh, but it's true. Like, how are you supposed to have your dream job if you're too busy, giving energy and life to this job that you don't like? Do you know what I'm saying? It's like you need to let go in order and surrender in order to allow these like things that are actually meant for you for them to come into your life. And I think it's kind of like another way to look at this. I'm thinking of another example right now. Leave it to me. I'm an analogy queen. But if you're trying to, it's like, okay, if you're trying to find your dream partner, and let me backtrack. Here's the analogy. You're listening to the radio. Throwback. I feel like I haven't listened to the radio in ages. You're listening to the radio and you're trying to find you want to listen to a pop song, right? But you're on the radio station of heavy metal and you're just sitting there waiting, and you're waiting for a pop song to come on. And then it's like, excuse you, sister, you're on the heavy metal station. So unfortunately, a pop song is not going to come on this radio station. So if you would like to listen to a pop song, you need to switch your frequency and attune to the pop radio station if you're wanting to listen to pop. And you're like, oh, shit, say less, makes sense. Same thing in life. This is the thing, so many of us are tuned into the frequency of fear, which is lack, right? Acting from a scarcity mindset, doubt. You're doubting that you're ever going to meet someone that's actually going to truly make you happy. So you're trying to rush into some sort of other relationship or whatever, because you feel like you need to abide by this timeline, and you're fearful for that. If you don't reach that timeline, people are going to see you as a failure and a loser and someone who's not cool and didn't make it and whatever, and who's washed up. You can't expect, you're going to continue to experience all of those feelings, and you're going to continue to experience experiences that are in alignment with fear, with people that aren't truly aligned with you, with jobs that aren't aligned with you, with experiences that don't really light you up. Whereas opposed to if you switch that radio station and tune into love, right? Which is unconditional love, one of the highest frequencies you can be in, where you're surrendering, where you're trusting, where you're letting go, where you're acting out of love. You trust that what is meant for you is on its way. You're in a place of detachment. When you're into that radio station, all your freaking favorite songs come on. That's when you come into a union with a partner that feels like your other half, who understands you. That's when you come into union with your soul family of your friends who you love and feel like have similar interests. That's when you come into union with your dream house, with your dream job. Again, these things take time to continue to come into fruition, but you can trust that as long as you're tuned into that frequency of love, which was such a huge message for me this morning in my meditation with my cards. Like literally, there was a card that came out that said, I understand that I had chosen fear. I choose again. I choose love. And another card said that I choose love every time. And because for me, like I've been struggling with this past week of acting out of fear lately in the short term. And there was a message I needed to hear was to act out of love and switch that frequency. And so I'm just saying, when you're in that frequency of fear and acting from lack and rush and make decisions in that state, you're never going to make decisions that are truly aligned to you at the most authentic level. Whereas opposed to if you're tuned into that radio station of love, of trust, of detachment, of, just letting go of surrendering, you will inevitably be calling in everything that is meant for you and everything that feels good to you on the authentic level. I know it's easier said than done, but I just want you guys to affirm to yourself, like, you just be here and now. Trust your path. Trust that you're on the right path. Trust that everything is happening when it should, as it should, for your greatest good. Trust that everything is conspiring for your greatest good, and just be here now. Be present and trust that your time is coming, because everyone's time is coming. And I always say, this is another example, that life is the yin yang symbol. Kind of what I said about earlier, how like everything is in a synergy. Everything works together to create one. Oh my gosh, also a card this morning that came out said that now I don't remember it fully entirely, but it just was saying how we are all one, essentially. And this is exactly like what I'm feeling with this too, like just saying how everything in the universe is all one. It all seamlessly comes together to be one, to seamlessly complete the whole. And with the yin yang symbol, I feel like it demonstrates how we need to hold the balance overall as a collective society, humanity, energetically as a collective universe. We need to hold the balance, right? But how could we do that? How could everything be balanced to work seamlessly, all as one, cohesively, all at one, if we all had everything that we wanted in life happen all at the same time? Like, how would we hold the balance if we all met the loves of our life on the exact same day? If we all got married the same day? If we all met our best friend at the same day? If we all got into our dream school at the same day? It's like, that in and of itself would make life just feel so in balance. Like, that's the beauty of life, is that someone got married this day, someone had a baby this day, someone got into their favorite dream med school this day. It's like, that's what makes life so beautiful. And like, kind of the concept of like someone's best day can be someone's worst day. That was something that shook me up for a long time, but that just demonstrates the perfect example of like, we're constantly always holding balance. Like, and I think that is a really big foundational principle of life that I've learned like in some spiritual awakenings, and like that gives me also peace of mind to know that like your timeline isn't going to be the same as someone else's, but that's beautifully divinely guided that way. It's supposed to be that way, to hold balance as a collective in this lifetime, in this life, just with everything. And the last analogy that I want to leave you guys with this episode is, well, because the beauty, I have one more analogy that I want to leave you guys with that just stands for the fact of like how the beauty of surrendering and trusting is that it actually magnetizes you to what's genuinely meant for you tenfold. And it's this. I remember when I was younger and we had these toy trains. They had to have been my brother Lucas's, and there was magnets on each end of the train because you would, make a train link and have it go along the train track. And I remember when I was little discovering that, there's two sides of magnets that won't ever come together, that are constantly opposing each other. No matter how hard I would try to put the trains together, I remember they would always like dodge each other and they would never stick. And I was like, that's rather interesting. That just completely stands for the concept that we're talking about of you trying to force things, of you acting from an attached place, of you subconsciously saying like, I need to stick to this timeline. This better work. These trains better come stick together because I don't have a lot of time. And so you act from a place of fear because you don't trust that it's going to come. So it forces you to force things and try to control things and force those trains to kind of stick together. But the kicker is they're never going to actually come together because there's two opposing ends to come together. But all you're doing is wasting time trying to push them together. Whereas opposed to if you just surrender and if you just completely let go and you let those trains do their thing, and naturally allow those magnetized ends of the right sides of the train to come together and stick, that's when everything actually comes into fruition. And that's what I'm trying to say with this analogy. That's when you can finally come into alignment with all that's meant for you, when you finally let go, because that's when you allowed what's naturally meant to magnetize to officially come together. And that's kind of also what I mean with this like higher knowing of like, we think we know the correct timeline, but we don't. Like, you think that like, listen, these are two trains, they're supposed to work, they're going to get together, they both have a magnet, and you think you know what's best. You're like, all this, the signs look like it's, practically this looks like it would work. They're supposed to work. But that's when I'm trying to say, like, there's a higher timeline for all of us that we aren't always aware of. And that would be, in this example of like, there's actually the other side of the train that actually is what's going to work best. And that's what's going to allow them to come into union. So I felt like that was a very powerful like visual that I was picturing when I was outlining this episode that I wanted to share with you guys. But I just want you to know, like, do not feel pressured any which way. Like, trust that your time is coming. Trust that everyone has a different time in life, and that's what holds the balance and what makes the world go round. And know that the best thing that you could possibly do is act from love and trust and surrender. Because that's another thing when I say, like, what else is there left to do? It's like, okay, even if you feel quote unquote behind in life, what else is there left to do? You acting from fear, you trying to control things, you trying to rush into situations and connections and experiences, that's not going to do you any good. It's not going to do you any good. It's just going to give you half-assed experiences that don't leave you truly fulfilled. And that's going to, have you kind of waste time with things that aren't meant for you, that don't feel good, or they're going to be putting more blocks into your path. Or if you just hold true, you trust in the universe, you trust in a higher timeline, and you just trust and are able to let go, I promise you, the irony of all of this is that it's going to allow all your manifestations, everything you've ever wanted, to come in 10 times quicker and with better than you could ever imagine, because they are truly aligned with who you truly are, your most authentic, honest core, and it's going to be better than you ever imagined. So you need to trust that. You need to hold space. You need to hold the faith, and you just got to let go, and everything that's meant for you will come into play. And for the affirmation for this epi, I trust that my path unfolds in divine timing with love. I trust that my path unfolds in divine timing with love. I love you guys so freaking much. I'm sending you guys so much love. A big hug to anyone who needs it, who feels like they're behind or struggling. You are not alone. Trust me. We all go through our hardships. You just need to trust and let go. Do what you can to keep affirming to yourself that you are on the right path. You are on a path in divine timing. Stay in that frequency of love. Open up your heart space. See other people with love. Live in unconditional love. Be a beacon of unconditional love, and trust that all is meant for you is coming. And, the sooner and quicker you're able to release that resistance, that fear, that doubt, that control, the quicker and even greater everything you've ever dreamed of will come into your life. I love you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for watching or listening. If you guys enjoyed this and you feel called to leave a rating or review, I'd really much appreciate it. It helps this podcast reach more people and impact more lives, which is always the goal. And if you want to screenshot this episode and pop it on your Instagram story and tag me, that would be lovely. I also love to see who is listening. It always makes me smile. So I'm sending you so much love, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.